let's talk Brock Bowers. And again, I think Georgia's awesome. I think Georgia, I understand, and they should be the number one team in the AP poll. They have as good a chance of winning a national championship as anyone. And so the question becomes, do they have a legit Heisman candidate? And some lists have Carson Beck popping up there. But if I'm looking at this UJ Bulldog team and I'm thinking who the most legit candidate is, I think it's got to be Brock Bowers. Because look, if you're going to win a Heisman and not be a quarterback, you have to be an outlier. Like Carson Beck's playing great, but there's a lot of great quarterbacks in college football this year, right? There is not another tight end in the country that can hold Brock Bowers' jock right now. And that's what I thought. So I was like, okay, let's look it up. Well, right now, Brock Bowers, 19th in the country at 90 yards receiving a game. That's any position, right? So he has all wide receivers before him. You have to go all the way down from 19 to 94 to find Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State at 60 yards a game. So clearly outperforming every peer in the country by a margin of about 50%, 90 to 60, like 50% additional production of what Egbuka is getting you. It's not even close. Brock Bowers is that outlier. If Georgia wins the SEC, makes the run to the Natty, Brock Bowers will and absolutely should end up in New York City.
I'm with you. He's the most dynamic player in college football. He's the best matchup nightmare. And I know there's a lot of Ohio State fans who say, no, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best guy. Like, yeah, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. He's an absolute freak. Go back and watch the game last week. He's just get him the ball any way you can. What Brock Bowers can do to a defense schematically because of his position, because of his ability not only to line up in unique positions, put his hand on the dirt, force a team to decide, do you want to go base? Do you want to go nickel? Do you want to, whatever you want to do? Like, there's just so much more stress put on a defense when you have a tight end as athletic as Brock Bowers. And on top of that, is as willing to block in the trenches as Brock is as well. So, man, you look at his stats the past few weeks, and you brought up a good point about Carson. Like, I was joking last night. I got home like at 12:30 for my game. I saw a tweet from CBS Sports, and my boy Rick Neuheisel had Carson as his top 3 guy for the midseason when it comes to the Heisman race.
Of course.
The more Carson continues to play like I have told you he could play, the more Brock's numbers are going to go through the roof, and the more Brock is going to demonstrate why he should be in New York. Like, listen, like Carson's best 3 games have been the last 3 games. Look at Brock Bowers' last 3 games. 9 receptions, 121 yards versus UAB, 2 touchdowns. Auburn, 8 receptions, 157 yards, a touchdown. Kentucky, 7 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. The more confidence Carson gets, the more Brock is going to get stupid numbers. And then you ask, well, defenses are just going to stop Brock Bowers. That's going to be the problem. Brock's going to have games where defenses just shut him down because they're going to double team him, whatever. And I think that's easier said than done, first off, because he's that talented. And then 2, the nucleus of receivers right now on Georgia is going to make it very difficult, especially with how well Carson's playing and how well Carson's dealing. Like, they had like 12 plus guys have catches the other night. You can't just focus on him because those other guys can beat you. So between Carson playing well, the receivers playing extremely well, it's still a great offensive line. I think he's going to continue to eat, man. He's going to put up stupid numbers all year. So I'm with you. He needs to be in New York when it's all said and done.
You hit the nail on the head in terms of his production going, like that 90 is going to go up to probably 100 yards a game the more they trust Beck.
Yep.
I think that Blake Duger hit the nail on the head saying Aaron looks like great value Matt LaFleur. Holy shit, you really do look like Matt LaFleur from Green Bay. You don't think so? I see you
no.
Moving your eyebrows. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know, problem. Maybe if you could like put the other side by side or something. I think he absolutely does.
The beard? Is it the beard?
Kind of the facial shape. If Matt LaFleur looks like how I'm remembering Matt LaFleur look, yes. And it is the kind of beard that's not a beard, but is a beard that you have going on.
Dark hair.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. See, look, Greg Lamont. Wow, yes, he does. No, that's not bad. Dude, Matt LaFleur's an NFL coach. I think so. I mentioned too, like, it's funny because Carson Beck is playing awesome right now and better and better every week. You see, he's like Aaron said, here's the boxes that Carson Beck had to check in year number 1. And it's a pathway if you look at the schedule. The first was win the starting job. Okay, he does that. The second box is, can you go on the road and win in a hostile environment? He does that. And he does it in comeback fashion, at Auburn. That's impressive. The next was, okay, if it's a big game and we put it on you, can you carry the team to victory? He did that against Kentucky. They empowered him and he rewarded them. So he has checked all the boxes. He's going to continue to get better. And then the ultimate boxes that will determine his legend will be, playoff and national championships, because that's what Georgia now judges themselves by. But Carson Beck's awesome. He's going to continue to get better. But I just find Brock Bowers, because again, Georgia is most likely going to be in the playoff, meaning they will almost assuredly have a player in New York. To me, no matter how good Carson Beck plays, Brock Bowers is the infinitely more interesting narrative here, right? Like, again, I think Beck gets lost in the madness of Caleb Williams, Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels. I would have said Cam Ward. Maybe he's on Bo Nix. Like there's so many great JJ McCarthy is going to be talked about because of his improvement, and Michigan will probably be there as well. So yeah, I think Bowers, I don't know if he wins it because it's still such a quarterback award, but I think that Bowers is almost a lock to make a trip to New York.
And I think it helps too. I think I said this a week ago, maybe on the show, but the fact that there really isn't a lot of, I would say, dominant SEC football players this year. There isn't. Like it's we all know it. Like, it's been a down year for this league. The best player right now is your boy Jaden Daniels. Like, Jaden deserves to be there. Jaden, as of right now, if I had to vote in for the Heisman, which, hey, Heisman voters out there, give me a damn vote. I would probably put him in my top 3, no doubt about it. Like, what he means to that football team. Like, if LSU didn't have Jaden Daniels, and I like Garrett Nussmeier, but that team may have a losing record at the moment if it wasn't for him. He has been on a different planet. But that's the only other SEC guy. That's the only other SEC guy out there besides Brock that has had a season worth of damn at the moment. That deserves to be in New York for the consideration. So I think that helps him as well. I still think it's going to be one of the Pac-12 quarterbacks when it's all said and done. I think you'll see one of them really separate themselves this weekend between Bo Nix and Michael Penix.
Exactly.
Like, that guy's going to skyrocket. But I also don't think I think the difference between, go back to Carson and Brock real quick, this is my last point about this, is Georgia may not get a lot of primetime games this season. The schedule ain't great. Okay. A lot of people ain't watching Georgia football games because they know they're going to beat everyone's ass. Brock at least is a known commodity where if you pick it up and you see, hey, Brock had 10 catches for 120 yards, you're like, yep, expected. He's one of the best players out there.
True.
You look at Carson's line, you're like, oh, it's probably because they, played at some scrub football team. Like, because you've seen enough of Brock to know how good he is and understand that that talent matches up with the stat line. And you're probably not really watching Carson to see truly how good of a quarterback he is. So I think Brock will benefit from that as well. And that's what separates him from Carson if you want to give one of the two a vote.
Yeah, John, I think Brock probably is the best shot at a non-quarterback New York City invite. I mean, I don't think a Marvin Harrison's putting up the numbers to do so.
No.
There's a bunch of great receivers like Luther Bird and Malik Neighbors. Are they going to break through? I mean, all 3 of the guys from Washington. I think there's a few easy pathways here. The winner of the Pac-12, that quarterback likely makes it unless like Utah somehow pulls it off. I think if you're Jaden Daniels, if you beat Alabama and win the West, I think you get invited. I think there's a very good chance you get invited. But if you don't, I don't think you do.
I think if he beats Alabama and beats Georgia and continues to put up the stats, I think he wins it.
Yes, if he would win the SEC, I think, which again, I do not think is going to happen at all. I think then he would win it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Georgia's going to win the SEC, very easily. They look like the best team in the SEC. As I told you yesterday, as inevitable as Alabama looks right now, Alabama is not on Georgia's level. Bo Nix, Josh Strickland. That's what do you think of Bo Nix? He is him or Penix will rise or fall this weekend. And I just talked to Andy Staples about this, and Andy had a great point that's so much fun about this game this weekend. This is not a Big 12 situation where Texas-Oklahoma was awesome, but we think we're probably going to see a rematch. You lose one of these games in the Pac-12, there's a good chance you're eliminated. Or there's so much madness that you're probably not going to see a rematch. So this might be the only time that we get to see Oregon, Washington this year.
I mean, would you still not say these are the two best teams in that league?
I think they are. No, I think they are.
I still think like it's not as clear of a path as the Big 12. Like, my goodness, both those teams should easily get a rematch in the Big 12 championship game. Like Oregon has to play Washington State and Utah and USC and Oregon State, and Washington has to, play USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington. Like, they each have 4 ranked games left. So, like, yeah, it's going to be tough to win out. But to me, they've at least shown us for the first part of the season that they are the top 2 teams in that league. Like, they will be favored going out in all those football games.
Yeah, that's fair, but slight favorites, not like the Big 12, where OU and Texas will be huge favorites.
Yes.
All right, so we're in agreement. I'm calling it out. Brock makes it to New York. I don't think he wins, but I think he makes it to New York.